Fantasy series suck and they're dumb and you should never ever write one. Be sure to like and subscribe and I'll see you all next time. Bye. Okay, but for real though, if you've never written a book before, I would highly suggest you don't write a fantasy series. Stick around until the end of the video and hopefully you won't make the same mistake I did when I first started. I'm not gonna lie, the title of this video is a bit clickbaity, but I'm sure you will forgive me after I save you a ton of heartache. If you've already written an entire series, then this video isn't for you. Congratulations, you have thrown yourself into the deep end of the pool and learned how to swim. Good job! If you've never written a book before, then for the love of all that is holy, please, 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 listen to what I have to say before you start. Writing a book is hard. Writing a good book is really hard. Writing a series is really hard. Writing a good series is really f***ing hard. There are so many things that go into writing a good book. Interesting, deep characters, a well-designed world, satisfying character arcs, a dragon and/or Godzilla. If you're missing that last part, then the project is already doomed from the start. Don't even try. It can be difficult to juggle all of these things at the same time to create a good story. Having to juggle all of these over the course of an entire series is even tough for experienced veterans of the craft. It can be challenging to create a character arc that lasts for an entire series or have to come up with an entirely new arc for the same character for every book in the series. If you've never constructed a story arc that spans a single book, trying to do so for an entire series would be a mistake. Now I understand, many of you grew up reading fantasy series rather than standalone books. They are the most profitable type of content you can produce because you can throw all of your advertising at book one and potentially make triple or even quadruple the amount of money if your audience reads through the entire series. However, just because it is the most profitable choice for experienced authors does not make it the right choice for beginning authors. There is a very good reason why so many indie published fantasy series go completely unfinished. I can't read the minds of every author on Amazon, I'm not Jeff Bezos, but I can speak from my own personal experience. I started off by writing my own fantasy series. There was no one around at the time warning me not to do it, and every source I could find said that writing a series was the most profitable option. I wrote Festival of the Azure Moon with the hopes of writing about 8 books in the series. I cringe at the thought today, but I was filled with so much hope back then. I had experience with writing stories before, but I had never written a full-length novel until that one. For my first self-published book, it came out pretty good. Looking back on it now, I know I could have done better, but for the most part, I thought it was great. I wrote Where Magic is Born that same year and was much more satisfied with that book. It centered around 2 characters who played a fairly minor role in book 1, so it felt kind of like a spin-off more so than a sequel. Had I written that book in isolation, it could have turned out into a very good standalone novel. My real woes began when I started writing book 3. Cosmic Terror was a direct continuation from the events of book 1, centered around the same characters. By this point, I had way more knowledge about the craft of writing and was far more experienced with writing prose. It was at this point, as I was constructing the outline for book 3, that I realized the series had some issues. Some of the plot lines I opened up in book 1 just didn't quite sit right with me by the time I thought of something better for book 3. I felt completely stuck because now I had to write the conclusions for the plot lines that either I didn't like or that didn't make much sense or just weren't as interesting as the ideas I came up with much later. I felt like I was doing catch-up. The shortcomings of book 1 really started to present themselves more and more as the story expanded. I learned a ton of lessons writing my first book. Had it been a standalone novel, any of the mistakes I made would have been confined to that one novel, and I would have been free to write an entirely new novel, starting as a better author. But because I decided to start with a series, all of the mistakes I made in previous installments that I recognized later are practically cemented in stone. Sure, I could go back and rewrite the first book and publish it, but something about that just doesn't feel right. Some people have told me I should have outlined the entire series better from the very beginning. Perhaps they're right, but I believe that really would have only done so much. As a fairly new author at the time, any outline I would have come up with would have ran into many of the same developmental issues that I made writing this series as a whole. I know I'm painting a bad picture here, but I really truly believe my first series is still a worthwhile read, and I'm glad that I wrote it. However, I will always regret trying to turn it into a series too soon. I hope that this video did not discourage you from writing or self-publishing. I simply believe it is in your best interest as a beginning author to start your writing journey with a standalone novel. Focus all of your energy on ending your story within the cover of a single book. Kill the big bad guy at the end, wrap up all the loose ends, and then send it to the shop. Allow yourself to make mistakes. If you have a dream project in mind, keep it on the back burner for now. Write something completely unrelated to your dream project. Do this at least once before taking a crack at writing a series. But if you insist on ignoring my advice, please, 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 please spend as much time as possible on outlining the entire series from beginning to end with as much detail as possible before getting started. You will save yourself a ton of heartache. Anyways guys, I hope that you found this video useful. Did you start off your writing career with a series, or did you write a standalone novel first? Let me know down in the comments below. See you next time!